icky day here today, and I have to work today. So thought I would film a little video before I have to get ready for work. I've been watching a bunch of you guys do several people's tags all together on one video, so I thought I would do the same this morning. I'm just having my morning coffee, and actually I'm still in a big baggy t-shirt belonging to my husband. So, and then I'm going to go get ready for work. So, oh, and I did cut my hair off for those of you who have been asking because they saw my Instagram picture yesterday of my husband and I at the wedding. I did cut my hair off. I was just sick and tired of it. And I've done that before lots of times. I'll just go in and say to my hairdresser, yep, Bonnie, take the clippers to it. I've done that. I said, just chop it off, and that's what I did the other day. It was right down my back, and I said, I had enough of it, chop it off. It's only hair, it'll grow back. So, I thought I would do, now that's out of the way, I thought I would do several of the tags that I had missed doing or had recently seen and just hadn't had a chance to do yet. It's been really busy here. My daughter just started her first, I guess, real job, and she doesn't have her driver's license yet. She's still working on that. So we've been playing chauffeur, taking her back and forth to work, and my son is 13 and very busy, so with his buddies and stuff. So we've been carting them around for the summer because my kids are still on summer leave. They don't actually go back to school until right after Labor Day weekend, which is like the first week of September. So they still have summer vacation right now. So I have been stitching. I've been doing a fair bit of stitching, but I've been concentrating mostly on Dad's project still, which is why I haven't recorded a WIP update, because the only thing I had to show you really was Dad's project, and anyone who follows me on Instagram would have seen pictures of that anyway. But now I've switched my rotation. I'm working on Record Girls this week, and I'm still working on the Clouds Factory Doctor Who piece. So next week I should have a WIP update video, and that'll be, the last 3 weeks of July and the first, few weeks of August sort of thing. So let's do the tags. And you guys can stitch while I drink my coffee and answer some questions. Let's see. So the first one I'm going to do is the Joy of Cross Stitch tag. And I believe Sonia from CatCrazyCreations, I think that's the name of her YouTube channel, she put this one out. So, number 1, how did you learn to stitch? Of course, I have the stuff written down here. How did you learn to stitch? I believe I answered this before somewhere along the way, but I was about 18, I guess, at the time, and I had moved into the city for university, and my best friend and her mom used to stitch, and I would go hang out with them after my university classes and stuff, and we would be watching movies, and her mom would be stitching, and I would be sitting there like a lump on the end of the sofa. So I asked my friend, I said, I want to learn how to stitch. I want to learn how to do this. And she said, oh, perfectly fine, and took me to, God, what was it? It was like Leisure World or something like that we had in the mall at the time. It was a craft store anyway. But they didn't really sell kits. They sold some pre-cut Aida. They sold floss, DMC floss, and leaflets. So we went through the leaflets, and I picked out, she said, you need to pick out something, if you're going to learn how to stitch, you need to pick out something that has, all kinds of different stitches in it, so you can learn a little bit of everything. So she was a very avid stitcher, and she helped me I picked out a Paula Vaughn pattern. And that was the very first thing I ever stitched. I think I was nuts, but I was hooked. I was hooked right from the get-go. I did the Pahlavan pattern. It was a chart called, I'm not sure if it's Sisters 3 or 3 Sisters. Anyway, it was like antique dresses and an armoire and flowery patterned wallpaper in the background. I did it. It had full stitches, half stitches, quarter stitches, lots of back stitching, and French knots. And I learned it all, and I loved every bit of it, and I am hooked, hooked, hooked. So that is still done and framed and hanging above my stairs, which is the other thing, I guess. I'm actually recording from a different location. I'm actually in my downstairs stitchy spot this morning. Okay, so that's how I learned to stitch. They taught me, and that was when I was 18, and I was like 20, I don't know, 18 or 20, 24 years ago. Okay, have you ever taught anyone to stitch? The only person I've taught to stitch, I tried to teach my sister, my younger sister, to stitch. She had no interest in stitching, so that didn't work. And I taught my daughter how to stitch. Now, she will stitch a little bit, but she likes small patterns, little things that she can complete fairly quickly. And she's 16, so I don't know if she'll stick with stitching or what, but I did teach her how to stitch, and that's it. That's a lie for me. No, I actually taught a very small group of women how to stitch once. There was like a group of women that used to get together and do different things every once in a while, and they all wanted to learn some sort of craft that they could get together and do together, and I taught them how to stitch because I was teaching scrapbooking at the time, and one of the women asked me if I could teach cross stitching, and I said yes, and I taught that little group. Never heard from them after. I don't know if they're still stitching or not. Okay. When you stitch, do you like to watch TV, listen to music, or just have quiet? I watch TV and I watch Flosstube, which is why I don't use my iPad for my charts usually, because I watch Flosstube and television through my iPad an awful lot, and it's portable. So whether I'm stitching downstairs or I'm stitching upstairs, I can take the TV with me. I also listen to audiobooks when I'm stitching. But it's got to be an audiobook that really has my interest. It can't be something boring because I phase out and I don't hear what the person is saying. But I listen to audiobooks when I'm stitching as well. And I just take those out of the library on my iPad. I use the e-library here in Newfoundland, and I'll take out a couple of books, usually one at a time really. So I'll just take one out, and I use the Overdrive app on my iPad, and perfect, get her done. And I stitch away while I'm listening to that. When you use a kit, which company or companies do you like best? Funny thing, in all the years I've been stitching, I've never actually stitched a kit. Never. I've always kitted up everything myself. I think that comes from where I live. The only kits I've ever seen here are a few at Walmart. That's only been in the last few years. And because we've only had Walmart, I don't know how long we've had Walmart now. It's been a long time. But by the time we got Walmart here, I was already well into stitching. So the kits that I saw that they carry are all small, and I didn't really like them. Michael's we only got a couple of years ago, and same sort of thing. Our Michael's only carries small kits, and not really my taste. So I've never done a kit. I ordered one of those Chinese kits online through AliExpress. That's still sitting in my stash box. I probably will do it, or I might give it to my daughter to do. I don't know if I'll ever stitch that thing. Yeah, it was an absolute and utter disappointment. I did a video on it. It's just a hot mess. But anyway. So everything I've ever done, I've kitted myself. So I can't really speak to any of the kits. Even with all the years I've been stitching, so Teresa, the fact that you've only been stitching for 8 months and you don't have much experience with kits, I've been stitching for 24 years and no experience with kits. What are your favorite designs to stitch? I like big projects. I like projects that I can sink my teeth into. I don't have a particular style. I've stitched a lot of very different looking things. There's not one particular style that I seem to gravitate to. I like pieces that look like artwork. And I like large pieces, heaven and earth designs. I just bought my first heaven and earth, which I'll get into on my whip video when I record that. But anything that is a large piece that I can sink my teeth into, I like. How do you get ideas or inspiration for your projects? Ideas and inspiration. I don't know. Instagram, Pinterest. I go on Pinterest not for the patterns, but for pictures or ideas of how to finish patterns. YouTube. I'm not working on anything that I've seen anybody else working on, but I'll hear about, like, that's how I heard about Heaven and Earth Designs, for example. Yeah, those are the sorts of things. If I see something that I really like, if I take a picture that's of a landscape or a piece that, I had to be inspired by a person or something I see in my day-to-day life. How do you store or keep your charts? I do have some PDF charts, which I have purchased online. Those are stored in my Dropbox on my iPad, which I also have activated on my laptop. So if my iPad decides to crash or something wonky happens with my laptop, I can still get at them. All of my other charts that I have that are printed, I have those in like those plastic page protectors in binders. And I keep those in my craft room. Because although I don't stitch in my craft room, I do actually have a craft room. Do you stitch for yourself or give to others? Both. I have stitched pieces and given them away, like to my mother-in-law. I did a piece for my mom. I'm currently stitching a piece for my dad. I did a piece for my sister for her wedding. I just finished a piece for my best friend's little one. And now I'm also stitching a piece for myself, so it's a bit of both. When you take your projects in the car or to appointments or traveling, how do you carry all your supplies? I actually have a bag. Well, when I go to work, I take stitching to work with me, but it's usually not a huge piece. It's usually something a little less substantial that I'm working on, so I use pillow protectors. Actually, if you want to hang on a second, I'll grab one and show you what I mean. Okay, I'm back. So they're not actually pillow protectors. It's a pillow protector case that your pillow protectors would come in. It's just a little zip around bag. And usually what I put in here is my chart. This happens to be my, if I can find the first page because I don't want to show you the chart itself. This happens to be my Clouds Factory Doctor Who pattern that I'm doing for my nephew. So I'll put my chart in there. I'll put my fabric in there. Small hoop, because I work on hoops when I'm at work. Then I always have my little cross-stitch tin. This is an Altoids tin, just a mint tin, which houses a magnet, a needle minder, some floss, a pair of scissors, yeah, and it's metal, so my needle minders stick to it. And then I'll have, if I need a lot of different colors because the pattern is very confetti or something like that, then I'll put my floss, my bobbinated floss, in a little sandwich baggie and throw them in there as well. Otherwise, if it's a lot of block stitching and I only need a couple of colors, I'll put them in this with my scissors and my needles. That's it, because I love tins. I don't know what it is about metal tins, but I love tins. And actually, when I kit up my projects, I do the same thing. I kit my project in tins. I have the large bobbin boxes like, hang on, I've got them down here. I have the bobbin boxes like these for my stash. And then, oh, I gotta reach. Okay. And then I have tins, which I will kit up my projects in. So this is the tin for my dad's project, the boat that I'm working on. So that's it. Yeah. I don't know, there's just something about using a tin, having a tin sitting on your side table. I have no idea what it is. It's just something about it. I just like the idea of it. It's very old-fashioned, very, I don't know. And it's repurposing something. So yeah, so that's how I take my whips to work or take them on the go. If I'm taking a larger piece, like when I go to my parents to visit and I take a larger piece with me, I take my lap stand that I made, my PVC lap stand, and I'll just take the project tin and my Q-snap and everything and just throw that into like a little carry bag and take that. So that's how I do that. Okay, next question, which is the last one. What do you enjoy most about stitching? What don't I enjoy about stitching? I work a 12-hour a day job in a very stressful, I don't know if stressful is the right word. It is stressful. My job is very stressful, but it's very high, what's that word I'm looking for? Not high energy. Adrenaline. It's a very high adrenaline job. I work as a dispatcher, an emergency dispatcher, and you never know what you're going to get when you answer that phone. It's crazy busy. I work in an environment where there's 7 other people. The phones are all ringing all at the same time. This one's dispatching police, this one's dispatching an ambulance, this one's dispatching fire. It's just, it's high adrenaline and high stress for 12 hours. So my cross stitching is literally my saving grace. My crafts are my saving grace. I love to scrapbook as well. I do that in my craft room. I go in there and hang out and, whatever, work away with my paper and stuff. But my stitching is my saving grace. Teresa, Little Stitcher. Hi, Teresa. Teresa said that she's noticed since she's been stitching, she's a calmer person. And I have to say I'm the same. It unwinds me. If I come home from that environment and the teenagers have been in the house all day and there's dishes on the counter and all that sort of stuff, I'd lose it, right? But now, if that's when I lose my stitchy bug and I'm not stitching, I'm just, I'm like a little nutcase. But if I have my stitchy bug and I am stitching, then I come home and what I want to do is I want to sit down with my stitching. If the dishes aren't done, I'll say to so-and-so, look, you guys have been home all day. You're going to have to work on cleaning this stuff up because I'm not touching it. I'm sitting down with my stitching. I'm going to go relax and have at her. So yeah, it's a really, really big part of how I de-stress and how I relax and how I maintain some level of normalcy and calm in my life. So that is the Joy of Cross Stitching tag. Now let's see. I'm also going to do Dee Stitchers 6-month review tag. So, hello Dee, fellow Canadian. Let's see. Number 1, is the year going the way you thought? No, it's actually going better than I thought. I had lost my stitchy bug around Christmas. I hadn't stitched at all. I didn't pick up my stitching again. Like I was doing other crafts, but I didn't really pick up my stitching again until, and we went on vacation and stuff down south because it's really cold and yucky here in the winter. But I didn't pick my stitching up again until, I guess, April, I guess, April. So I figured the year I probably wasn't going to get as much done as I have gotten done, but I started two really big projects back to back, and I really love them. I'm really enjoying them, and yeah, they're going really well. So my year is actually going a lot better than I thought it would. Have you learned anything new about yourself this year? Not really. I have learned more and more that how important my stitching actually is to my daily life. Like I was just saying a minute ago in the other tag about my job, my stitching has become my therapy. And probably my husband's saving grace because he's such a laid back, he's a musician, he's laid back, he likes to play his guitar. Speaking of which, that's his guitar cabinet or behind me. Now, that's only a couple of guitars. He has like literally 20 guitars. He's got a what I call his man cave full of his guitars and his equipment, and I have my craft room, and yeah. But so he's very laid back, very easygoing, and I tend to be really high strung. So if it's one thing I've learned this year, it's that my cross stitching really does keep me on an even keel. It really does calm me down. Have you learned anything? Oh no, I already read that one. Have you learned any new techniques this year? Absolutely. Absolutely. So I've been stitching for 24 years, never knew parking existed. Never knew you could do a rotation. Well, I guess I did do a rotation, but you know, it was always one whip at home and one whip at work. And that was it. So I worked on my home whip when I was home, and I worked on whatever I was working on at work when I was at work, when it was quiet around my lunch breaks. I now have multiple projects on the go. I have plans for more projects. I am loving every second of my stitching. I've learned that I can do a rotation and that it does work and that I will enjoy it. I have learned that it's okay to break that rotation and that it's okay to stitch on something that you're really enjoying if you don't want to put it down, and then go back to your other whip later. I have learned how to do parking. Like I said, 24 years, never knew it existed. I guess I was doing some form of parking really on my own, but I was a cross-country stitcher. So I would stitch like, you know, a section all the same color as, and take it to its logical end, finish it off, start somewhere else. Yeah. Now I'm doing parking. I'm not doing it like on my Clouds Factory pieces or on pieces like that where there's a lot of fabric showing in between. But on full coverage pieces, oh my gosh, parking is definitely the way to go. Definitely. I have Carolyn Mazzio to thank for that. Thank you, Carolyn. Your video on parking, opened up a whole new world of stitching for me. What else have I learned? What other techniques? I learned parking. I learned how to continental tent stitch, but I haven't used it yet. I watched Carolyn's video on it and I love it. I think I might use it on an upcoming chart, but yeah. I also learned how to dye fabric. I did my fabric from a Monopoly board that I'm going to stitch, and it turned out great. So I learned how to dye fabric. I know technically it's not a cross stitch technique, but it's for my cross stitching. So I learned how to dye fabric. Question number 4. What do you hope to accomplish for the rest of the year? I am going to finish. It's not I hope to finish. I am going to finish my father's boat project that I've been working on, because that's for his 70th birthday, which is in December, and I am going to have it done. I hope to get a fair bit done on my Record Girls piece. I don't know if I will finish it because it is a large piece. It's very large, actually. But I want to concentrate on getting that done. Once my dad's project is done, or once the Clouds Factory piece is done that I'm currently taking back and forth to work, I'm probably going to start my Monopoly board. I have that on my plans of to-dos for this year. I want to start that. And so I will be starting my Monopoly board because I've got all the charting finished. I'm so excited. And the fabric is all done, so I can't wait to start that. That's going to be a really fun stitch, I think. And lastly, I bought my very first Heaven and Earth design. Oh, so excited about that. I told my husband I wanted one for Christmas, and my son mentioned to me that he might like to have the Middle Earth pattern done, the one of the map. And I went in on Heaven and Earth and went to have a look for it, and it's been retired. It's not there anymore. So then the chart that I had put on my wish list for Christmas, I was afraid that that might get retired. So I went ahead and bought it. So technically I can't start it until after Christmas because he is going to give it to me for Christmas. I asked him for Christmas this year, I want to have a Heaven and Earth design. I want to have the fabric for that pattern, and I want to have all the floss for the pattern. I want to have it all kitted up. So Christmas morning, I can open it up, and then I can get all excited, and I can start it in the new year. So, yeah. So that's my hopes for this year, for the rest of the year. So that is it for Dee Stitchers Tag. So, if you guys have any questions, any comments, anything to add, feel free to mention them. Thank you so much to all my subscribers. I don't know where you keep coming from. There's so many of you. It's just overwhelming to see how many people are watching me natter on about stitching. I also this week met via the internet, I guess, a lovely young fella from Central Newfoundland. Hi, Blake. Yeah, he's this young guy who's just gotten into cross stitching. He's a knitter and a crocheter and all that kind of stuff, which I also crochet. I don't knit. Oh my God, Blake. Yeah, if you saw me knit, it would be, yeah, no, not something I'm ever going to attempt to do again. I can knit. I have knit. I did one sweater. It took me like forever to do, and it will probably never happen again. So I do crochet, and I crochet a fair bit, and I enjoy crocheting, but that's it for any sort of yarn work for me. But yes, so I met Blake this week. He introduced himself via my YouTube channel, and then he started following me on Instagram, and we've chatted back and forth like with a couple little questions here or there. So it's great to see another Newfoundlander. I know there's other Canadians out there who are stitching, but yeah, nice to see another Newfoundlander. So welcome to the Flosstube community, Blake. It's great to have you on board. And I've watched some of your videos. You're doing great. You're doing a lovely job, and I love the enthusiasm that you've got for your stitching as a new stitcher. It's wonderful. So anywho, I'm going to go later this week after I'm finished work for the week and I have my 4 days off. I will film. I keep saying film. I'm like an old timer, right? I will record a whip video so that you guys can see my progress on my whips and where I've gotten to at this point. So anyway, have a great stitchy day. Enjoy the rest of it. Hopefully it's not raining where you are, and if it is raining, it's a great day to stitch. So take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye.